I'm here with Christine Hollinden, the Christine Hollinden of Hollinden Marketing Inbound Strategists. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you.
So I was just talking to you about some of the services that you provide to AMAA members, but also you're a member yourself of AMAA.
Absolutely. I started out supporting AM&AA at their conferences as a sponsor, doing different things like that, and then joined quite a number of years ago.
Right, and how long ago was that? Do you remember?
Gosh, it's probably 8 years maybe, something like that.
And
long time.
Even helped develop some chapters.
Absolutely. We just relaunched the Houston chapter. We're very happy about that. I have a great team, great executive committee.
Well,
and
with that said, I mean, marketing is what you do, and what better way to prove your successes than through developing these chapters and being a part of AMAA. You've been able to kind of, show that value of your services to the members through exactly that.
Exactly. So part of this is just using my marketing acumen to get the word out about this chapter, bring people together, and really support what AM&AA is all about, which is networking and people really doing business with each other and really leveraging their networks for each other's benefits.
So tell me a little bit about some of the strategies that you use when it comes to inbound marketing, so lead generation essentially, correct?
Yes, so today the big buzzword, if you will, is all about content.
Correct.
And in this market, there's a lot of confusion, I think, about what is content, what should you write. And for those who do have some certain types of certifications or licenses, they're restricted.
Sure, of course.
And there's a misunderstanding, I think, about what that content should be and what it could be, and its overall purpose. And it's not about giving out expert advice or expert guidance that violate any of those licensing requirements or restrictions. What it is about is understanding your audience and then the questions that they ask about the general guidelines or the general topics that the members work in.
Of course.
So, for example, I'm working with a company that does buy-side, sell-side. And one of the, in our research, we always start there, what are people looking for? Who are they after? What are the goals of this company? And then we saw, how do I sell my company?
Sure.
And how much is my company worth? Two of the biggest search terms in their geographic region. It's like, okay.
Exactly.
They're asking this question.
Right.
So how do we build, we can't answer, how much is your company worth?
Of course.
Like, how much is your company worth? Nobody knows. We don't know that.
It's worth the world, right?
And we don't know that. There's a whole bunch of steps before you get to that number. And but what we can do is talk about the process. How do you go about it? What should you look at? What are the biggest mistakes that owners make in terms of thinking about value of their company, the difference between enterprise value and top line revenue, for example, or what is EBITDA and what are multipliers and what's happening, how do you get there?
So you're helping to not only just educate, but to facilitate all of that while staying within the guidelines and so on that you're just talking about. And
exactly.
A lot of businesses are so focused on sales. It's got to be sales, right? And they don't realize in order to best that process, you need to have leads, right? So who are you going to speak to in order to make those sales? And it's leads. And so acquiring those leads is something that they should be more focused on than the sales itself, because they already know how to sell, right?
Right. Yes. Well, if they get in front of the opportunity, the right opportunity, they can determine as professionals, is this a good fit for me? Can we add value? Is this something I want to work on?
And so you are
That's the easy part.
You're the opportunity, facilitator essentially in that particular aspect. And so
plus, the other part of that is, as with your background too, that it's all about timing.
Correct.
A big part of what the AM&AA members do is about timing. This owner may not be ready
Correct.
today. They may not, they may just be curious, but they're not ready to take action.
Sure.
But do you let them out of your funnel? Do you just forget them? Do you just toss them aside
Or do you
and
nurture
go, exactly.
Right.
And there's what I've seen is very little nurturing process that's happening. They don't think about the nurturing as part of the overall marketing and business development effort.
100%. And earlier you had mentioned, before we were started the interview, you were talking about automation.
Correct.
And part of what we're just talking about now is the nurturing process being automated. Tell me how you guys work with automation.
So we are a HubSpot partner.
Oh, wonderful.
And I'll give you an example of what we just did for an organization, a company that does buy side, sell side as part of their service line. So in the sell side process, we worked with their sell side team first. They were generating an email, and they had a little sales sheet, a little cut sheet that had some high level information about the company they were representing. And then, the next step in that process was is an NDA for more detailed info and a conversation and et cetera, et cetera. Well, the team was generating an email and just sending it out.
Manually.
Okay, to their very highly researched list. Strategic buyers and then investment buyers, by PE firms and the like. So they were just sending this out and then kind of sitting back waiting for somebody to respond. But as we were talking, I said, that email is a moment in time.
Right.
And for example, you're here
I'm busy.
at this conference busy.
Right.
So I send you an email, may or may not see it.
And I'm a hot lead.
Yeah, exactly. You fit my criteria, but you don't respond. That initial process that they did said, well, he didn't respond. He's not interested.
Moving on. Meanwhile, I, as that business owner, am ready to sell in a couple of weeks, and they missed the bus.
Or you look at it and say, wow, this would have been a great opportunity for me. I want to grow by acquisition. I missed it. I was out at a conference, or I was out of the office,
or meanwhile,
what have
I
you.
Google search and I find the next search result, and I go with them when I have this email still sitting in my inbox, maybe unread, maybe it got filtered out, or just buried under all my emails.
So first thing we did was we created a workflow, and we said, okay, if we send this out and there's a sell side opportunity, so I'm saying, based on my research, you might be interested in buying this company.
Sure.
Would be a good fit for you. If you don't open that, and the technology will tell me, did you open it? Did you click on anything? Did you go to any of my web pages on it? Did you not engage at all with that? So we devised then several different communications that are automated based on your behavior.
Right, saving them time and effort so that they can do what they do best.
And here's what we found. We were getting good open rates on those first emails that were sent out. I mean, we were getting upward of about 40% open rates, which is great.
Yeah, compared to the 20 and under average.
When we sent out the second e-blast, so these were people who had no engagement out, and this is automated, so the sell side team doesn't touch it.
Right.
We were hitting, in those who had not engaged in the first email, 48% open rates and above.
Wow.
48%.
That's great.
So that meant that moment in time of the first one, they were just busy.
It could, exactly.
Something, they missed it.
Yeah, sometimes they just needed to catch that second email that has the resemblance to the first one, and they realize that this person's serious. They're trying to get a hold of me. That's perfect.
And then we had that engagement, and we saw engagement levels and interests to go to the next step, which was then complete the NDA, which by the way, we automated that too.
Awesome.
So they don't need to, it's connected. In this case, they use DocuSign. So we connected the technologies. So it automatically sends you the NDA.
Great.
So you can then electronically complete it, which is what everybody does.
Right.
Then once you do that, we have the other piece of information and the ability to set up an appointment.
Wonderful. So what happens if you have a customer that isn't set up with HubSpot per se? Do you work with any of the other platforms as well?
Absolutely. We've worked with some other platforms. I must say I'm a little partial to HubSpot.
Of
just
course.
because it's
the
ease of
marketing,
use and they've done a great job, I think, of streamlining a lot of the common processes.
Of course. Yeah, you've got, Salesforce and Fusionsoft, so on and so forth, but those are more of a sales-related platform, a CRM, if you will. And so, whereas HubSpot does have the CRM abilities, it was mainly built as a marketing machine. So, if marketing is your focus, which lead generation should be, because that ends up turning out sales, right?
Right.
If you're good at what you do. So you're impartial to HubSpot, but I don't know anything about HubSpot as a customer. I'm either middle market or I'm in banking, so on and so forth.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know anything about that. What do I do?
So the biggest thing out of all of that, good data.
Of course.
Like, you really have
Especially if
to
I'm a
know, exactly, you really have to know who you're going after, who your target audience is.
Sure.
Spend the time there.
How many times do you have clients who say what their target market is, and then you run the data, and it's a little bit different?
So it's interesting. I find kind of the opposite, where it's not so much that it's a little different. It's that their description of their target audience is either so general.
Yeah. You can define it a little bit more.
Right. That it's not well defined, or they have no real idea. They haven't really thought about that.
Sure.
They haven't honed in as much.
They just did step one, which is just kind of like, I just took my past customer base and I kind of bulked them into one group, but now you're taking the data, you're setting up through not only your automation, but the design and the construct of the workflows, which are essentially like pipelines. And then you take that data and then you come back to them and you say, these people are a little bit more defined than I think you knew before.
Right.
That's
and
awesome.
Then when you know who you're talking to, you know that audience, you can develop focused messages.
Yeah.
Like we're having a conversation right here
Right.
and sitting next to each other, and that's the way your marketing ought to be.
Exactly.
In today's time, where that research
busy.
is available and people are so busy, that you should be able to hone your messages to the point like you're sitting down with them having a conversation.
Perfect, yeah.
That's your goal.
Yep, especially in today's.
Exactly.
Yeah. So where can your target market, outside of the AMA Summer Conference, where else can they find you? What's your best mode of contact if somebody wants to reach out to you, especially in the M&A market?
So I might expand just a little. So we work with the members of AM&AA, fill in their funnel, content, web, digital elements, automating processes where they can, which ends up saving them money because they don't have to. It takes away a lot of the manual.
Exactly.
And then they put their team to work on highest and best use, which isn't that the goal of every business owner?
Of course, of course.
But then we can work on the deal side, on communication strategy, integration strategy, about when there is an acquisition or a merger.
Perfect.
So if you think
Super
about
detailed.
the statistics on why deals fail to achieve their desired goals,
Right.
seldom is it, a little bit, but seldom is it because they didn't fully do, on occasion, they didn't do the full due diligence. Some things revealed after the fact. Or maybe there's terms in the deal that are just a little off and not quite meeting what they wanted to do. But the vast majority of the time, they lose team members. They lose market share because clients leave.
Sure.
The clients or the team members get a little spooked, if you will, a little nervous because there's change. And it kind of comes down to lack of communication, lack of change management around communication and marketing that. They're not marketing, here's the benefits, this is great.
Content, right?
Yeah.
They're not producing the content, they're not staying engaged, which again, the old method, the traditional method was they had to just have a bead on that attitude and stay in contact with them, manually sending emails, filling out in their calendars, their CRMs to follow up with all of these people, when essentially through the workflows that you build, they can drop in and out of different funnels, if you will, based on their reactions to emails, the content that they're generating, all of that. And that's everything that you set up.
Their behaviors.
That's great.
The behaviors, whether it's the behavior of or the actions taken by your employees or your customers.
So tell me a little bit about your ideal target market.
So ideal target market is, we really love to work with organizations who are focused on accelerating growth, where they're really serious about growing, and they like utilizing and leveraging experts.
Okay.
Where they have that respect.
So
they
small
go
to large business.
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, we've worked with $4 or $5 million revenue companies to over 200 million plus. Excellent. And everywhere in between. Typically, it's that kind of middle market, lower middle market is our optimal. But it's really about a professional who sees us as part of their team.
Perfect. Excellent. Well, Christine Hollinden with Hollinden Inbound Marketing and Strategist.
Yes.
Thank you again for joining me.
Thank you so much.
I look forward to the future with AMAA and all the chapter work you're doing.
Well, we're excited. And so anybody in Houston, they should come check out one of our meetings.
Definitely. We'll put some more information on this video as well to see where that goes from there.
Wonderful.
Excellent. Thank you.